I found Andrew Tate's online chess games. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be looking at Andrew Tate's most recent chess game. It was actually played on the 27th of December, 2022, so very recently. Andrew Tate's opponent is actually rated 1676, and Tate is rated 1667, so there's not much of an elo difference. It's a 5-minute burst game with no increment. Before we start, I'm sure you're familiar with Andrew Tate. If you're not, he is actually the son of Emery Tate, who I've covered lots of games of his on the channel. So Tate starts with d4. We've seen this a lot in the over-the-board games we've seen played by Tate. His opponent actually goes knight f6. This is the most common way to combat d4. And now c4 is played. This is very common. And now e6. The nice thing with e6 is that it's quite flexible, because after a move like knight c3 was played in the game, black actually has quite a lot of options here. Black can go for the Nimzo Indian here, or black can go for the Benoni, or black can go for the Queen's Gambit declined. I'm sure some of you have seen the Netflix series, The Queen's Gambit. Well, this is actually the opening what the Netflix series was based on. Okay, so anyway, d5 was played. This is called the Queen's Gambit declined. And now Tate, when Tate played Piers Morgan, Tate actually developed his bishop to f4. And I've looked through lots of Andrew Tate's games, and he really likes to develop his bishop to f4. He almost likes to play a Queen's Gambit with a London system. However, Tate didn't develop his bishop to f4. He actually develops his bishop to g5 in this game. This is what we call a pin, because now his knight is almost pinned to this square, because otherwise the queen leaves. And now bishop e7 is played. This is the most common response for black, just breaking the pin. Now this knight is free to jump wherever it wants, because the queen won't be hanging. There's a bishop there. Tate now goes e3, and now castles is played, and now Tate decides to develop his knight with knight f3. So black's already castled. Black's doing very well here. Developed his pieces nicely, castled. And now Tate will try to do the same, try to develop his other pieces and castle. And now Tate's opponent actually plays the sixth most popular move here. More common moves would be like knight b to d7, even b6, even h6 here. A funny looking move a6, and you might be wondering, what on earth does this move do? Well, this move is actually totally reasonable, and up to this point, Andrew Tate and his opponent have actually been following a game played by the 4th world champion Alexander Eliakin. In this position, Alexander Eliakin had the white pieces. Alexander Eliakin in this position actually went cd5, and after ed5, Eliakin actually went bishop d3. A rook e8 was seen in that game. Alexander Eliakin then went queen c2, and then after h6, bishop f4, we saw knight b to d7. Eliakin here actually played a very interesting pawn sacrifice with g4. However, Tate does not actually go with a cd5 in this position, and actually opts for bishop d3. Now, bishop d3 is slightly inferior to cd5, as you will see. Tate's opponent decided to resolve the tension here. Tate took here, and now b5. And now you kind of see the problem that after bishop b3, what was played in the game, after bishop b7, black's actually developed his pieces very nicely, and he's done it very fast with tempi. So just coming back to this is why Alexander Eliakin took, because after this, after bishop d3, there's no taking here and taking here. Anyway, we saw bishop d3, takes, and b5. Probably a better move here would have been bishop d3, keeping this bishop on this very nice diagonal. However, Andrew Tate actually decided to go bishop b3. As you see, this e6 pawn completely blocks this bishop's sight of the king. And now c5 is played. So the most important part of the chessboard is the center. So black is using his c pawn to attack white's center. And now queen d3 is played. For example, if a move like knight b6 was played, we can actually take this, and after this, there would actually be a checkmate right here. So this move definitely comes with a bit of poise. However, it's not the most accurate move, because after a move like b4, I'm actually going to flip the board here so you can see it from black's perspective. Say if his knight goes back, actually after a move like c4 here, and if this is taken, then you can actually go rook c8, and if you try queen d3, we can actually win a piece after this. So with black in this position here, a big part of black's game plan here is actually to shoot his pieces up the board. As you see, black has very nice pieces in this department of the board, so black's play would kind of be more focused on the queen side here. Black would actually have a very, very pleasant position after c4, because this cannot be taken, and black can really run his pawns up the board and really create some weaknesses here, and black would be doing extremely well. Queen d3 was played, and now b4 would have been kind of a knockout blow. However, it was not played. Rook c8 was played. If you're not familiar with the queen side and the king side, as you see, the queen would start on d1, so it's kind of the queen side, and then the king actually starts on e1, so it starts so that would be the king side. Anyway, after rook c8, Andrew Tate actually plays knight e5. Say a move like h5 is played, Andrew's really trying to get something like this. So Andrew Tate's almost trying to like trap his opponent, but not actually playing the best moves possible. c4 was played, and now Andrew Tate actually went queen e2. This knight was taken, and now we get d e5, and now knight d7. In the game, bishop f4 was actually seen. However, as you see, Tate probably should have actually exchanged here and played f4, because now he supports his pawn, and this would have been a bit more playable, because now your rook can maybe get into the game. You still got a bishop, you still got a queen, you still got a knight. However, instead of exchanging here, we actually saw bishop f4, so defending this pawn. The problem is, after a move like queen c7, it's not very easy to defend this pawn. So in a way, you really needed to try get this f pawn here to defend it. Queen h5 was tried in the game, threatening checkmate in 1 and defending this pawn. As you see, if this is taken, then we can actually checkmate in 1. After queen h5, it's refuted by a move as g6. So stopping the threat of checkmate in 1, because now obviously we can't take it because the king takes. So with g6, the queen is unfortunately forced to return. Queen h3 was tried in the game. Knight e5 was played, and now queen g3. So if this knight moves now, then unfortunately the queen will be hanging. However, bishop d6 is played, adding another defender to this knight. Rook a to d1 was tried, and now black actually plays a really good move here, f6. When I was actually looking at this for the first time, I actually thought white might have a draw here after this and going here, and after this taking and taking. White could actually get a draw if this happened. However, after rook d6, a queen d6, and after this, after hg6 and this, black can actually play the really annoying move, queen d3 here, so actually stopping any sacrifices here, and black is simply up 2 pieces of material. And now we actually see knight e2. A more precise move would have actually been knight e4, getting the knight, hitting this bishop, and trying to exchange this very nice bishop. Quite a nice bishop. There might be ideas with queen c6 in the future, for example, and now the queen would have to be very careful where it goes, because it could hang checkmate in 1. So anyway, knight e2 was tried in the game, and now we actually saw rook f to d8, so adding another defender to this nice bishop. Then now we saw knight d4, so we actually see Andrew's idea now. He's rerouted his knight from c3, and he's going into this square, and now the knight is actually attacking this pawn. For that reason, queen f7 was played, defending this pawn. Now we actually saw queen h3, adding another attacker. Now Tate's opponent actually plays a very nice move, f5, so just shutting down this bishop, shutting down this queen. Now we saw queen g3, and now as you see, the dark squares are a bit weak. So because all the pawns are light squares here, by default it actually makes the dark squares weak, because these pawns only control light squares, as you notice. So Tate could maybe try conjure up some attack on the dark squares. However, it would be very hard, because black still has his dark square bishop, and there's a queen here, there's a knight defending the king. So white kind of has an insufficient number of attackers to really mount any success in this position along the dark squares. Queen f6 was played in the game, and now Tate goes for a very interesting tactic. He actually sacrifices a knight and goes a knight b5, and after knight b5, a b6, rook d6 was tried in the game, and now instead of seeing rook d6, we actually saw an interesting move here, knight f7, so attacking this rook with the knight. And now we actually saw rook b6, so going after this bishop. And you might be wondering, okay, the material's equal, Tate has actually done okay in this position. However, the problem is, even if you wanted to exchange here, the problem is this pawn is under attack, and but Tate's opponent will actually be able to infiltrate on the 7th rank with the rook. So rook b6 was tried, the material is actually equal. The material is equal now, but Tate's opponent actually takes this pawn. And now we actually saw an interesting move, bishop f5, because if we take here, Tate's opponent can actually just take here. So Tate actually wants to try and win some pawns before he lets his bishop go. So ef5 was played in the game, and now rook b7. Even though the material is equal, black here has these pawns, but it's going to be very, very hard for white to stop the queening of these pawns. So c3 was played in the game. I was going to say, the game actually gets interesting from here, because Tate's opponent only has 45 seconds, and Tate has 2 minutes and 4 seconds. We actually saw bishop e5 in the game, so trying to infiltrate through these dark squares, maybe we can line up some checkmate here. However, queen d2 was actually seen in the game, and now we actually see the move bishop c3. And now if white does nothing, this pawn is going to promote very, very soon. It's going to be very, very hard. So Tate here is kind of forced to give up his bishop. Anyway, we saw queen c3 in the game, and then we saw h4, so Tate's trying to push his pawns up the board. If a move, say like b4 after this, you can actually not take this pawn, because it's pinned to the defense of the king. Anyway, this actually was seen in the game. Now we actually saw an interesting move, g5, and now a rook f7 was played, king f7. Tate's opponent has 6 seconds, and Tate has 1 minute 25 seconds, and now we actually saw queen g5, and now queen f6 was played. Tate's opponent quickly trying to get a draw. He has 3 seconds left. Got queen f4. We've got rook g8. Tate's opponent has 0.3 seconds left. and after queen f3, Tate's opponent ran out of time and lost the game. And the problem is, even though Tate's opponent did find good moves, he didn't find them fast enough, and that is really just the nature of chess in general. You can spend as long trying to find the moves as possible. Most of the time there'll be a time limit, and you've got to balance out how long do I want to spend and how much time do I have on the clock. Anyway, that's the Andrew Tate game. We're actually about to hit 1,000 subscribers, so like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your time and attention. If you want to see any games of Andrew Tate's dad, Emery Tate, I've got some right here, and have a good day.